All right, good morning, everybody. Um, just went back from south of France, started yesterday. My name is Thijs van Rosmalen. Had a great vacation, and before my vacation, we started with these great webinar sessions. And today we have a next one. We started a second uh, uh, um, um, round of episodes. So the upcoming 14 weeks we will talk about digital marketing and sales topics on a weekly basis again. So every Wednesday morning. I'm looking forward to that. I'm happy that you all joined today. And yeah, I'm pleased that Vera is here as well. We're going to talk about redesigning your company's website today. And we have a special host, as I already mentioned, Vera. She is marketing manager at Delmic. And Delmic is a passionate high-tech company based in Delft, the Netherlands. And they develop powerful and user-friendly solutions for light and electron microscopy. She will share her marketing journey with HubSpot. So how can you redesign your company website that it will be that 24/7, 365 exhibition booth to meet new clients? Especially in these times, that can be a really worthwhile and valuable tool for your digital marketing strategy. If you're joining for the first time, let me explain to you some rules of the Web's Webinar Wednesday episodes. I started chatting, so if you didn't see that already, your chat pane will be your biggest friend, because this full hour you can ask anything you want via that chat pane. I will manage that, and I will make sure that at certain points of Vera's presentation, we will have the possibility to answer those questions. So feel free in the chat pane, say hi to everybody, and please share your location so we know where everybody is. I can see Amsterdam coming in, Turnhout, Brussels. I'm joining from Eindhoven. Samion, welcome. He's joining from Eindhoven as well. Hengelo is coming in. Utrecht, great. Everybody is here. Rotterdam, Sittard, Thomas, welcome. Good to have you here. Everybody is using the chat. Okay, enough from my side. I will be hosting this, so please ask all your questions, and let's go to the most important person of this morning. Vera, welcome to your first Web's Webinar keynote session.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Shall I just take over and start?
Yes.
Okay.
You can go ahead. We're good to go.
All right. Just give me 1 second to share my screen.
Course.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, great.
Nice.
Yes, thank you so much for the introduction. I'm really excited to be here today and to talk about our journey of redesigning our company's website. And like you already said, I'm the marketing coordinator at Delmic, so I really have this hands-on experience of going through this process. And I know that there are a lot of marketeers today. So I hope that this is going to be useful for you. I hope you will maybe get some ideas and just take some tips from my experience. So of course, like you said, Thijs, the world has been changing so much in the last few months. And indeed, the businesses are just rethinking the way that they're doing, their marketing. I have been spending a lot of time thinking how I can redistribute my offline marketing budget, what I can do. And I think that investing in your website is something that is really a good thing to do, especially if now you can't meet your potential customers or your potential leads at a conference or a trade show. You have been planning to organize some workshops that are not going to happen. So in that case, you better make sure that your website really represents you in the best way possible and that it delivers the best content that you can offer to your potential customers. And probably if you are part of this webinar, you have been thinking about redesigning your company's website for some time now. And what if you're just thinking, okay, but my company is pretty small and I'm the only person in the marketing team, or we are two people in the marketing team. What if I have no idea about website redesign whatsoever? Is it still feasible? And these were the kind of questions that I asked myself last year. And 3 months ago, we have successfully launched our website. So I really went through all of this process. And today I hope to share my thoughts and my tips and my experience with you. So I'm just going to give a quick outline of the presentation. So like Thijs said, I think we will make a couple of breaks so I can answer any of the questions that you have. And of course, I will be able to answer any of the questions at the end of the webinar. So I'm going to talk first about the problems that we had with our old website. How did we decide to go for the website redesign, and why did we decide to do it? What goals did we have? How we found our ideal solution for redesigning the website, some of the important decisions that we had to make, and some important discussions that we had, how we planned our content writing, how we launched our website, and what happened after. So I'm going to share a few of the results that we are already seeing now after 3 months after we launched our website. So just a really quick introduction, like we already said, I'm Vera. I'm originally from Moscow, but I have been living in the Netherlands for the last 4 years now. I'm a marketing coordinator at Delmic, and I have been in this company for almost 3 years now. And I used to be the one-person marketing team. So now we are 4 people, but I really know the struggle of being the only marketing person, and how much responsibility comes with that, and how you have to be, you know, overlooking all your marketing channels and activities at the same time. So I really know that feeling. And also really quick introduction about the company, so you kind of have a context of what I'm talking about. So like Thijs already said, we are a company that produces light and electron microscopy solutions. We are located in Delft in the Netherlands. The company has existed since 2011, so it's still pretty young. And we create this really cool, really complex microscopy systems for researchers and institutes and companies all over the world. And researchers who work with our systems, they work in the fields like geology and life sciences, nanophotonics and material sciences. So really a lot of different fields. And before I move on and talk about the problems that we experienced with our old website, I just wanted to give you kind of a quick preview of how our old website used to look like. So maybe if you already have some kind of a first impression of this page, I know that it's just one page, it's the old homepage that we used to have. But if you have any like kind of first comments about what you see, you are free to let us know. I think it's always interesting to kind of get another opinion.
Yeah, maybe it's good to quickly stand still here. Like you see a couple things, request a demo. So there was some interaction possible already.
Yes.
Try it now. You see some CTAs, some call to action buttons. But what did you mainly dislike about this?
You're asking me.
Yeah.
I think I will go into the details
Cool.
about this. Yes. Okay, so this is actually what I'm gonna talk about right now. So the top problems that we had. So almost exactly 1 year ago was the first time that I started to really think about redesigning our website, because I started to notice that we had like a lot of little issues and some bigger issues. And I went to talk with my boss, and I tried to summarize the top problems that we had with our website, and I just wanted to share them with you. I'm gonna have a quick sip. So I think the first thing is that we had a difficult structure that was kind of making the buyer's journey confusing on the website. So difficult structure not only in the whole website, but also on every specific page. As you can see that it was very text heavy, there were not that many conversion points. And when we had these discussions about our website, one of my colleagues, she said, you need to know exactly what you're looking for on our website in order to find it. And that's very much true. It was just not really clear what you're supposed to do on the website, where you're supposed to go next, where you can find more information about specific subject. And we also saw this, for example, with our content offers. So this is another example of how the structure of the pages was not really great. So we have been making all these content for a really long time now. So we have all these things like white papers and application notes, as you can see on the screen, and webinars and so on. But they would always be located at the bottom of the page. And so this is a heat map, which was generated with a tool called Hotjar to see how far your visitors go. And you can see that only 22% of the visitors reach this point. So all this content that we put so much hard work into is only visible to 22% of the visitors. And as you can see, that's not really the result that we were going for. So this was one of the things that were kind of wrong with the structure. Another thing were design inconsistencies. So the website was created in 2015 originally, and since then quite a lot of people have worked on the website, and they have tried to optimize it and add new things, or maybe change the code a little bit. And then it basically resulted in having all these smaller inconsistencies on the website, things like different fonts. So I highlighted them here. This strange list item, the button, the submit button is really small. It's not supposed to be so small on the landing page. All this unnecessary white space. So there were just a lot of these things that were kind of ruining the whole impression of the website, or the feeling that you get from the website. And then finally, we always had quite a good content, but the performance of this content was really low. So we have been investing a lot of time in our content strategy for the last few years. So we are constantly writing blog posts and news posts and just doing a lot of adding a lot of new information to our website, but we just didn't see the results that we wanted to see with this content. So this is the example of our old blog page. You can immediately spot small things like the social media icons are not really aligned. There is just a lot of information on this page. You wouldn't really know where to click first, or where to find information that you would want to find. So basically, this whole layout just didn't let our good content shine through. And of course, you might argue, look, these are not that big of a deal, right? You could have just fixed it here and there. We could have possibly just changed the structure of the pages. We could have fixed maybe some design issues that we had. But there were other bigger reasons that we took into consideration when we decided that we would go for the website redesign. And so I think that if you are yourself considering this process, these are a few reasons that you should also take in mind. So the first one is the fact that your website is just not performing well. This is of course related to what I have already said, but I think that if you're consistently monitoring metrics such as bounce rate and conversions rate on your website, the landing pages traffic, how many leads you generated per month, and the time spent. And if you know that you are investing in the content strategy, that you are really spending a lot of time on it, but you are not seeing the results that you want, or actually these results are declining, then it's possibly an indicator that you just need to change the whole website structure and just redesign your website. Another reason is your business is changing. So this was actually the case for us. Our company has grown in the last 2 years quite a lot. And this year we are adding 2 new product lines. And when we start to have these discussions, we realized at some point that our old website was so heavily focused on our one main product line that there was just no space to put any extra information. And we realized that only by changing the whole structure of the website, we can really fit all these new product lines and make it look organically. So you can see, for example, here the difference between our old navigation page. Before, we didn't even actually distribute between the product lines that we had. They were kind of all collected within one product tab. And here you can clearly see that there are 3 distinct product lines and specific products that belong to them. And then finally, redesigning your website can also be part of the whole rebranding process. So for us, as we were adding the product lines, we decided that we would want to go for the full rebranding of our company. And of course, we would have to keep all our channels consistent, including the website, which is the #1 channel that people visit when they want to know more information about us. So in the end, it was kind of a combination of all 3 things. So the fact that our business has changed and we decided to go for rebranding, the fact that the old website was not really performing as good as we wanted. And that's why we decided to go for the redesign of the website. If there are any questions right now, I can answer them. I don't know if
Yeah, we have one. Thank you.
Okay.
Thomas was asking, you clearly made this website for a specific target group, so you have probably defined some buyer personas. Can you tell me a little bit more, or tell us a little bit more about those buyer personas? Who are they, and how did you address them in the new website design?
Yes, that's actually a good point that I'm going to talk about later, but I can already also say a few words now. So we have defined our buyers' personas quite a long time ago, but during this process, we kind of went back to it and started thinking, out of these buyers' personas, who are doing the actual search online. So I think our potential customers and our customers lie basically in 2 main groups. So academia and industry. And academia, these are people, the researchers, basically people who work in the universities and research institutes. And we define their roles as, for example, professor or principal investigator or senior researcher, technician. So people who really work closely with research. And then we also have another group of customers, which are companies or industry, as we call it. So sometimes our systems are bought by companies that are doing actually commercial things and producing some of the things, and they need to learn more information about the materials that they're working with, for example. And then in that case, our buyers personas would be manager of the research department, for example, or a scientist in the research department. And so the way that we addressed it on the new website is by creating 2 new pages. One that was explaining that how we can help with the challenges and needs of people working in academia, and the other one is focusing on the challenges and needs of people working in the industry.
Okay, cool. And you showed also some insights where you measured actually performance of the old website, and that makes why you changed it into this whole project in the
Yeah.
redesign. Can you tell me a little bit more about the tools you used to get those insights?
Yes, so I think the main tool that we are using is HubSpot. So we have been using HubSpot for the last 4 years, and it's very convenient because we have both our website, all our marketing tools, and all our contacts within one system. And yeah, I quite like it because you can see all the basically all the movement of your leads through the website, how your separate pages are performing. So within HubSpot, you can see all of the metrics that I'm talking about. But I also always use Google Analytics just to double check things. Another tool that I find, especially recently, quite valuable is Hotjar that I mentioned. So this is the tool that lets you create these heat maps, but also the recordings of the visitors. So just to see how they're moving through your website, whether they're clicking some buttons or not. Maybe they think that this is like a clickable element, but then it's not. And this is something that you can look at and, you know, make some optimization of your pages. So I think these are the main three that I would yeah, mention. Yeah.
Okay. So HubSpot is for like the management of the content, the
Yes.
activation of the content, and the interaction of
Yeah.
everything. So that's the biggest and the
Yeah.
most important one. And then you have to analyze performance. You also use Hotjar with heat maps and Google
Yes.
Analytics, which everybody knows
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Okay. And can you tell me a little bit more, last question for now, a little bit more about the bounce rate of the old website, and how did you research that? Like, did
Yes.
you take that in consideration?
Yes, so this was actually one of the metrics that I was looking at the most. So our bounce rate has been quite high for a long time, especially for the homepage, because I think that it's quite useless to look at the overall bounce rate, right? Because your pages can have really different bounce rate depending on the function of the page. But for example, the most obvious one is your homepage, right? It shouldn't have a really high bounce rate of like 80%, which we used to have. And I think that was actually almost 2 years ago that was the first kind of redesigning experience that we had. So we first tried to optimize our homepage because our old homepage was really not having that much information. There were not many links or where you can go. So I think that was one of the reasons why it had such a high bounce rate. But since we changed it, it kind of went a little bit down, but now we can see that it's going even lower with the changes that we made.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Please continue.
All right, thanks. Yes, so I think one of the important steps when redesigning your website is defining your goals or what you want to actually accomplish from your website. And this is something that we have spent quite a long time discussing. And so I think it's good to, you know, collect a few people that you work with, maybe some people from the sales department or people who work directly with the customers, and just discuss some of the things. So for example, is your current website communicates the brand positioning in the best way? Does it focus on the customer benefits, or just does it showcase only the products that you offer? Is it flexible enough to be changed at a later stage if you want to, for example, expand your business? Are there enough conversion points? Can you make the day-to-day optimization of your content easy? So these kind of questions, I'm just leaving this list. I think that later on you will be able to access this presentation So if you just want to really sit down and think about these questions, I think that's a good idea. Of course, it really depends on your specific business and business challenges that you have, but kind of to have this conversation going, I think it's a good list to start with. And so in the end, we defined 3 main things that we want from our new website. So the first one was to restructure it in a way that it would communicate our brand positioning and vision. The second was to improve our content performance. So we defined specific KPIs and goals that we want to achieve once we launch our new website. And the final one is to create a flexible structure and design that would let our business grow and basically let us expand to more products, more product lines later on. And so the next step in our journey was to find our ideal solution. In my opinion, this kind of comes down to 3 main choices that you have budget-wise. So the first one is you can do the in-house design. I think this is probably the cheapest option that is available, but that's also the most challenging one. And I think it's also only available to bigger teams. So if you have an in-house designer and developer, then this is something that you can consider. But then, of course, keep in mind that it will probably take a much longer time because you have a lot of other work that you need to be doing apart from creating your new website. The second option would be a freelance designer. In my personal opinion, it can be kind of like a hit or miss situation. So it's very often that a freelance designer will only offer you expertise in a specific type of area. So only design, for example, or only development. So we had experience before with a freelance designer, and basically we really needed to know what we want from our website. So it was just not really working well for us at that moment. And then final option is the agency, which is probably the most expensive one, but that's also the biggest access to like a variety of expertise. And I think the best part about working with an agency is the fact that they can really help you with the strategy for your website. So they will not only do the design for you and the development for you, no, they can really take over the whole range of activities that are involved in the website creation. So we ended up working with webs, which might not come as a surprise because I am a part of this webinar today. But I think it was a really fruitful partnership and collaboration. And we also were able to choose which parts we wanted to do ourselves and which parts we wanted webs to help us with. So they ended up designing and developing our website and working on the strategy with us, while we worked on all the content and content implementation. So it also is kind of up to you, depending on your budget, on how much involvement you want to have. And then another aspect that you need to think about is the website platform. Like I already mentioned, we already used HubSpot before we before we created our new website. So it was really a no-brainer for us. This was the platform that we wanted to stick with because we have everything in there. But I think that the most important is to just choose the platform that you are personally as a marketer comfortable working with, and keep in mind that this platform has to have enough opportunity for growth and enough tools for you to really track the performance of your website. But in my opinion, I think it's better to stick, if you're happy with what you're working with, it's better to stick with it, because I think the website redesign is by itself is a really complicated and difficult matter. And if you also have to switch to another platform, it just might be a little bit too overwhelming for you. So we chose to stick to HubSpot because we are really happy with it, but there are quite a few other options. And before we moved on to the actual design and development, we spent a lot of time discussing things. And I'm just going to go through a few of the aspects that I think are very important to discuss before you move on to, actual design and development of the website. The first thing are your business challenges and how you hope your new website to help with those business challenges. So in our case, one of the business goals that we've always had is to be the thought leader in our field, or the expert in our field. And we have tried to do this by creating these technique pages that talk extensively about the microscopy techniques that we work with. But before, the issue was that they were still quite focused on our products. With the new website, we moved away completely from the product part. So we just made them purely educational. And I think the format is now way more clear. So they're kind of like books that have these chapters that you can go through. I think it's also super easy to expand these pages. You can just keep, adding more information and really make this your pillar page that is like the main point of reference for your website. So this is something that we did, and so far these pages have been performing great. The second thing is, so like I said, I was briefly talking about the buyers personas when I was answering the questions, but essentially, yes, we created 2 new pages that were focusing on academia and industry. We really tried to talk about the challenges and needs and the goals that our potential customers have. And we also put them in our navigation menu as the first pages that you see in the first tab. Another thing that you need to think a lot about is your buyer's journey. So basically, how do you want to build your website based on the stages that your customer goes through? So awareness, consideration, and decision. So one of the main changes that we made is we created a lot more application pages. So pages that are focused on the fields that our customers work in, because we know that this is the most interesting thing for them. They want to know how to use the systems in their specific field and what kind of results that they can get from using these systems. And so you can see that now it's the first tab in our menu, so the solutions, and there are a lot of more application pages available for our leads to explore and read. Before, we only had these few. I think it really adds a lot to the journey that they have, because once they read all the information about the applications, they can move on to explore more about the microscopy techniques, and then they can learn more about the products. They can really help them with this, with the questions that they have. Another suggestion that I have is, don't shy away from exploring your competitors' websites. I think it's always good to know how your competition is building the customer journey on their website. So we spent quite some time on looking at our competition's website and just exploring the way that they create their pages. One of the things that we, for example, took as an inspiration was this product cross-linking on some of the application pages, and we added it to our website as well. So once you read about how what kind of results you can get with specific microscopy techniques, you're also referred to the actual products that you can use to do it. And then probably the most important step of the whole preparation process is content audit. So I would really recommend you to get an overview of your website pages, landing pages, content offers, so things like ebooks or white papers, videos, webinars, so everything that you have created so far, and really think what stage it belongs to, maybe what persona it can be interesting to, and you also need to think in advance what you're going to do with this content, because even if you're planning to reuse a lot of content from your website, you will still need to probably rewrite it slightly or adjust it slightly. So you need to start making those lists of how you're going to utilize your content. And so basically the outcome of these discussions that we had were a few things. So the first one is the sitemap. So the sitemap is just the structural, the visualization of the structure of how your new website is supposed to look like. So this was the initial sitemap that was created. We have changed slightly a few things, but that was the first kind of idea that we had about how our new website has to be structured. Another thing are the storylines. So this is basically what you want to tell to your customers on each page. How do you want to structure each page that you have on your website, and what kind of story you want to tell your potential customers. And then the last thing that comes after that is the wireframes. So wireframes is basically just the visualization of how your pages are going to look like. At this stage, there is no actual design involved or interactive elements. It's just basically for you to get an idea of where certain content is going to be placed and how you're going to fill those spaces. And we can make maybe another break if there are any more questions at the moment.
Yes, thank you. There are some questions coming in.
Sure.
One of the first questions for now, you mentioned more products. So you have the flexibility to add more products to your website. Did you ever consider, there's a question from Emil, did you ever consider more products on more websites, so every product a new website?
Yes, actually, that was one of the discussions that we had in the beginning, because we did think that maybe it makes sense to create a separate website for a separate product line. But in the end, we decided that we want to, focus more on our brand as a company. So we wanted to still be recognizable. So we wanted them to live within the same website. And the solution that we came up with was creating a separate color for different product lines. So maybe you can see on one of the pages that I showed here. So we basically ended up with 4 colors. There is no 4th product line yet, but it is on our website if you want to check later. This is the way that we make a differentiation between different product lines now. So we use a specific color that is assigned to each product line. This is how we decided to do it in the end.
Okay, and this whole new website has, of course, your commercial organization, the biggest goal of getting new interactions for sales, generate growth. How do you measure that success? Is there something like a service level agreement between marketing and sales, or how do you define success? A question from Thomas.
Yes, so we have certain goals for how many leads, marketing leads, sales qualified leads we want to generate each month. So that's basically how we measure how successful we are. And we also have the yearly goal. So in order to make certain number of sales, we want to have this number of leads, marketing qualified leads, and so on generated. So that's how we measure it. And we always try to work in a very close contact with sales team. So we always have these discussions about how to adjust our marketing and sales pipeline so that we are aligned and we don't have any crazy expectations from each other.
Okay. And how do you convert MQLs into SQLs if the website has done its job, like the leads are coming in, but they're not sales ready immediately? How do you manage that?
Yes, so we have a few ways that we decide that this person is an SQL, basically. If the person is just performing a lot of activities on the website, if they download things, we don't really consider them an SQL at that moment because we don't really see a sales intent. But if they perform things like request a quote or request a demo, then for us it's a clear indication that this person is a sales qualified lead. Another thing that we do is we move them through a automated pipeline. So we nurture them with automated emails, and we basically measure whether they're reacting to those emails and whether they respond to those emails. And if they do, then we can also say that, okay, this person is considered to be a sales qualified lead.
Okay. And based on those interactions, you resend different kind of
Yes.
information.
Yes.
So you try to be as relevant as possible to
Yes.
make them sales qualified. And that's all managed in HubSpot. So your
Yes.
website is there and also that follow-up email marketing.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
cool. Another question about launching the new website. Did you experience any dip in organic SEO performance?
Yes, I wanted to mention this at the very end. So indeed, we were kind of expecting it, but after there was a moment when indeed some of our pages went a little bit lower in the ranking. But now I see again that we are the second or the first position in the ranking for certain keywords that we target for. So it kind of just bounced back. I think it takes maybe about 4 weeks for Google algorithms to adjust to your new content, but in the end now it's good.
Yeah, so within 4 weeks you're back
Yes.
to normal or even
Yes.
better, because you also do redirect, so you don't lose any content performance from the past, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
One final question here. If you, because this is a cooperation between marketing and sales, of course, the website works for both teams. In your experience, was it difficult to align sales with your marketing approach for this website, or and with the work of HubSpot, or was it very easy and were you aligned from the beginning?
Yeah, so in terms of working with HubSpot, we have been using it both marketing and sales team as our main platform to work with our contacts. So we have all our contact details within HubSpot, and sales team actively uses it for everyday interactions. That's our main storage platform. So in this sense, I don't think it's difficult. I think I think it's more of just a general question that it's always quite hard to align marketing and sales goals, because especially in a business like this, because we do our sales cycle is really long, and it's always a conversation, right? It's always trying things, and
it's a very common challenge.
Yes, exactly.
So that's why we have the next episode, but I'll tell everybody about that after your story. Let's talk about your content plan. Please continue. We have another 15 minutes.
Okay, I will try to make it brief. The next part of basically of the website redesign was content planning and content creation. Like I already mentioned, Webs did the design and the development for us. And in the meantime, we were working on the content. And I think that this is probably the most challenging, the most difficult part of the whole process, because it does involve a lot of writing and rewriting of your content. And in the beginning, it feels like, oh, it's not going to be that much work, but believe me, it will, especially because there are these little elements that you don't necessarily think about at first, like URLs and page titles and meta descriptions, CTAs, how they're all going to be connected with each other. So this is the things that you don't necessarily think about at first, but then once you start working on them, it just ends up being quite a lot of content. And the way that we were creating it is we were working with this tables that that Webs helped us with. So we knew exactly how many characters we need for each part, and that was kind of like a guideline for us. But in general, I think in terms of time, we at that point were 2 people in our marketing team, and it took us about 5 weeks to complete all the content writing part, and about another 5 weeks to implement everything. So that's another step that comes a little bit later. So it does take quite a lot of time to implement all the content that you created. So add all the links, all the descriptions, all the body, header, text, and so on. And another part of it are the images, which is something that you might think should be the last thing, but it's not. I think that this should be decided early on, which images you're going to use on each page. I really recommend you to collect them all in one folder, because all of the images will need to be resized. And then I also think you should discuss early on with your designer, if you have one, whether any additional images like illustrations or icons or logos needs to be created. So the way that we did this is we kind of tracked progress for each element that we had on our page, and whether it was added or resized or not. And in the end, we had, I think, over 200 images to resize. So it was really a lot. And then, so basically, after you are done with implementing everything, after you've tested it, after you checked everything, after you shared it with your colleagues and they also checked it, there comes the time for the website launch, which I think can be honestly a subject on its own, because that's a pretty big thing, right? But just maybe some few general recommendations that I would have is actually this is how our new homepage looks like, just to give you kind of a comparison point with the page that I showed you in the beginning. Yes. So one of the things that I think you should start doing early on is to announce the fact that you are redesigning your website to your potential customers and your customers, and also internally. Because if you have some regular visitors and you don't let them know that you are going to change your website, one day they are going to come and they're going to be totally confused with the fact that everything is different. So I think it's good to send out email campaigns or write a blog, for example, about what kind of features you're adding to your website and what new things that your users will be able to find. And one of the things that we also did is we shared through our partners, so our distributors, the fact that we are redesigning the website. So they also spread the news. And another thing is that we also did an internal presentation. So I think it's good to share with your colleagues the things that you're working on and why you decided to redesign the website, and maybe also show some new features to your colleagues. I think that's a great thing to do. And so when you are done with the launch, it's of course very easy to just sit back and relax and hope that your beautiful new website is going to do all the hard work. But no, you have to continue optimizing it and working on it, because it is really a dynamic process and it just never is going to stop if you want your website to give you the best results. So one of the things that we have been working on was the blog strategy. So we also now include our applications team to work on the blog posts. And I think that the blog is just so much more clear now. You can really find a specific topic that you want to read and get an overview of all the content that you can read. So I think that it is really performing much better than it was before. And there are also all over the website, there are so many, you know, additional points where you can find blog posts. So it's just much more visible now. And another thing is the optimization and testing. So for example, within HubSpot, you can do you can customize parts of your content for specific audience, or you can do A/B testing. So one of the things that we have experimented with was adding chatbots to our website, and also adding this links to book a meeting with our application specialist on some of the pages. So it's a never-ending process, and it's always interesting to see what kind of new results you can get with new additions or features. And the final thing that I wanted to show are a few of the results that we are seeing now. So even though I think it's important to have this disclaimer first, the summer months are always slightly worse for us in terms of performance, just because we mainly work, like I said, with researchers, and the school year starts in September. So in summer, it's always a little bit dead. But even that, considering, you can see that compared to February to April, we have seen the increase of traffic by 41%. And also the blog traffic, like I said, we are seeing really great results for our blogs. It has increased by almost 30%. I think before there was a question for the bounce rate, so it all went down slightly for the main pages. So I think the most interesting one is the product page. You can see that the bounce rate is now 63% compared to 83% that we had. And this is how the new product page looks like now. The conversion rate is also going slightly up. So it's now 2% compared to 1.8%. But of course, this is something that we need to still keep tracking and looking at a later stage. And then another thing that was one of the questions about the SEO results. We are now back to #1 position after the featured snippet for the main keyword that we aim for. So like I said, this is it all went back to basically the results that we hoped for. Yes, I think that concludes my presentation. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope that you maybe had some ideas on how you can change your website, or how you can redesign it. And if there are any more questions, I'm happy to answer them now. And
Yes.
yeah, also feel free to send me any questions later on if you will think of any, and you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. So
Yeah, we have. Please do that if you want to talk more with Vera about this. We also will share this with everybody, so you can check the recording again, or share it with colleagues internally. And in the chat pane, I'm sending a link to a case study which Vera made on the HubSpot website about this whole project, so you can read more about her story there as well. There are some questions to finish up for today. You mentioned, Vera, the use of a chatbot on your website, that you start testing with that. Can you tell us something about your experience and results of adding that chatbot to your website? And did you need to use new technique, or is that's coming from HubSpot as well, right?
Yeah, so we used the feature that HubSpot offers. It was really easy to set up. I'm still kind of testing the results because I'm not 100% sure that it really works for us, but that might also be because of our buyers personas. They just might not like
Yeah.
this feature. But we just used it to basically offer more information on our product pages. So, for example, pricing is something that we don't share openly on our website. So we offer this as one of the things that you can select in chatbot. And if people want to know more, we offer them, for example, a link to book a meeting with one of our sales representatives. So things like this. It's
Yeah.
very small, but it was really easy to set up. Like it's a great thing that HubSpot now added this feature.
So you were trying to lower the boundaries to get in contact, and you have to check does it fit your buyer persona, yes or no. And
Yes,
another thing you showed to lower that is that you can book with a
a
sales
meeting.
representative a meeting directly in his calendar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So this is this is another feature that you have on HubSpot. You can book a meeting with anyone, and it works pretty well. I think we even have like a free version of that, so not the full version, and still it's very easy because you just need to like put your email, select the time, and then you immediately have it in
Yeah.
your agenda.
Okay. Question from Julia.
Yeah.
Can you tell or share your best practices regarding CTAs? Like what
Um,
working the best?
Yeah, I think it depends a little bit on what you're trying to achieve. So we have been trying to experiment with the way that we phrase things. So we almost never use like these catchy names like download for free. So we try to, for example, one of the things that we tried was we can measure the sample for you. So this is kind of like a different way to request a demo. So instead of saying request a demo, we say measure your sample with us. So things like this. Um, yeah, I think it depends on the positioning of the CTA and where you how you word it. I think it's worth to just try a few things, maybe do some A/B testing if you're sending an email campaign, and just
Yeah.
change this one thing and then check what is performing better.
Yeah. Cool. And of course, always um, after such project, it's never ending because you're continuous improve the website, of course, based on the data or, yeah, like you said, changes in the market or whatever. But if you are doing this project again, what would you should do differently the next time?
That's
Is there
a
anything?
That's a good question. I think maybe the main thing would be to start earlier with the content writing. That was really like maybe I didn't stress it enough, but it was really a lot of work. It
Yeah.
was. I mean, like I said, it really depends on what your options are. You can always try to outsource it, but in our case, we knew that we had to do it ourselves just because our content is so complicated, so we really wanted to involve our applications team to work on it. But yeah, I would start earlier, and also for the implementation of content, that also takes a lot of time and a lot of like planning. So you really need to like know exactly what everyone is going to do each day, because otherwise it's just going to be
Yeah.
a mess. Like for
So
us in the end it worked out, but that was like one of the struggles, I would say.
yeah. Okay, so don't underestimate that.
Yes, exactly.
Um, okay, thank you so much. There were a lot of thank yous and compliments coming in the chat. So you did a great job. It was
Thank
very
you.
valuable to and clear how you took us from your plan to the approach to the final result. So thank you very much for that. I would like to finish up by inviting everybody for our next episode. Sales and marketing alignment was already one of the questions. Next week we have an episode with Oscar. He is a former HubSpot employee, worked at the headquarters in Boston, and now he's our team lead here at Webs for the HubSpot consultants, and he can explain how you can align marketing and sales all together as one team in the tool of HubSpot. So that's coming up for next week. Thank you everybody for joining. And let me end with this last compliment for you, Vera. It was
Thank you.
very inspiring. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the time. It was really great to share my story.
Okay, cool. Okay, talk soon, and I hope to see you next week, everybody. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.